Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Today I have my good friend Quate and my good friend Eskimo Carlitos, aka Austin.
That's not my
Today we're going
name.
to be discussing our opinion on the Xbox game event that happened in July 2020. Let's get into it. Yeah, so I'm going to give it a 1 out of a 10. No, I'm just kidding. So, are you excited for the new Halo?
Very
Go
much
and answer
so.
that. Oh, I'm going to ask that question I asked you yesterday, Quate. I'm going to talk about that. I like that.
Okay.
I'm actually going to start, when we start talking about Halo, I want to ask that right off the bat, because I want to hear what Eski says, so I can disagree with him right away.
Okay.
No, yeah, I don't know if he'll disagree with me, maybe, I
Okay.
don't know, we'll see.
Alright.
Let's get it popping, dude.
Yep. Gonna put it live and.
Are the
just a
fans
moment.
watching yet, dude? Do we got fans on here?
It's unlisted right now, so you gotta give him a moment.
Pay you good money. You're going to see comments, Matt's a dick.
Yeah. Alrighty. So I think. Let me check and make sure the video looks good. It's really clear. I love it.
Oh, that's perfect, dude.
Alright, I got
That's
chat
great
up.
for our podcast.
Okay. I am gonna go public, and I'm gonna start it off. I got the whole intro, so.
Hi, dude.
Here
Fire away.
we Go. Alrighty, so we are now. Let's save. Alright, so we are now live in public. Let me just make sure the stream is working well. And it is. So I'm just gonna start it off then. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Open Ear Podcast brought to you by XGR. I'll keep this brief. I'm your host Quade and today I got Matt with me
Hey, how you doing?
and Austin,
Hi, how are you?
and sometimes we may refer to him as Eski. With that intro out of the way, let's get right into it. Today we are talking about a couple things. We're going to start off with Halo and then move on to some of the other games that were shown at the Xbox showcase event. And then lastly, we'll be talking about our final thoughts on the showcase event and how we feel about the Xbox as of right now. So I'll just start it off with Halo. I felt that Halo, being their opener, would be amazing, but in my opinion, I felt like I was let down. I felt it was a bit lackluster, and I think especially we see a lot of memes coming from that showcase and gameplay of Halo, so that definitely doesn't help it. I think the grappling hook looked really cool, and I'm excited to see the Covenant and the Brutes back in the fight. And, you know, I was surprised, well, maybe not surprised, but there was no mention or any, nothing about Cortana or whatnot. But, you know, I guess they'll keep that secret for quite some time, and maybe until the game gets in our hands. But besides that, I did want to mention one last thing, and then if you guys can explain this to me, or if you guys understand this, I see a lot of articles that are saying that Halo is going back to its roots, and I just don't understand
Wait, I'm gonna
why.
just cut you off
I
real
have to
quick.
cut you off before.
I think
I got
you're
two
going.
things I gotta
I think
say.
you're going
Oh,
a little
jeez.
too fast there. So
Oh.
I
Matt,
got two things.
please go in.
I wanna mention something you mentioned about Cortana. I hope with this game they don't advertise like they did for Halo 5, because I think Halo 5's advertising was a huge mistake with misleading the
Okay.
like finding Chief. So maybe with this time around they're not going to show anything, and they're not going to talk about anything because they don't want to do that again. And correct me if I'm wrong with what I said, but was that game not kind of advertised for this story of hunting Chief and playing as two characters? And that was very much a letdown for many
So,
people.
A little
And
bit of.
wait, real quick,
Oh, sorry.
let me say this and you can respond to it. the grappling hook and going back to the roots. I believe this game is nothing like the roots of Halo, but on that same note, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I think it's not its roots. I think this game is, I mean, the open worldness of it is something that we've seen a little bit earlier on in the Halos with a bigger map where it's not exactly linear like a Call of Duty, but it's going to be open, more open. We have a grappling hook. It looks like in the demo we saw he had the ability to, choose, oh, let me go attack this armory. And we saw multiple of those on his little tack map. So where it's not, and there's sprint, which I guess some people didn't notice, there is sprint. I think it's far from its origin of what Halo used to be, but I still think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a great game, but I don't think it's going to be the Halo 1 or 2 that people are going to, I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact that Halo 2 had on first-person shooters, but I think it's going to be a good game, and I think it's forming its own new roots. And I'm going to hand the mic to Eskimo because I know he's about to go in. So let's hear it.
I'm
Let's hear
actually
it.
not going to say a lot at first because I think you guys are going extremely fast for the amount of things that you're covering. I say we handle this in little bits. I think the first thing to talk about is the marketing that Matt mentioned. So for a little bit of context, Halo 5 Guardians led up to the launch with a series called Hunt the Truth. It was an online audio podcast series that followed an in-universe character as he tried to uncover the darker side of the Spartan program and of Oni in Halo's lore. I personally listened to them as they came out. I thought it was an extremely good series, and on its own, it stands up great, and I think it's a still good listen. However, it has nothing to do with the game at all. The Halo 5 itself led us to believe this series Chief was going rogue, that he committed a great act of treason, and in the actual game, the act that he commits
Nothing like that.
is his great act of betrayal as he goes AWOL. And that is the thing. Not to talk too much about 5, but the marketing leading up was very misleading. Now, for this game, I do agree. I think they're playing their cards a lot closer to their chest this time. 343 has definitely learned from how big of a marketing
Bust.
failure Halo 5 was.
So detrimental to the game.
So I think that's why we're seeing scaled back. We're not getting a huge primer series. We didn't get tons of, things thrown at us like grandiose, gestures. They took a very vertical slice of the game and they showed us that. I think they want to temper expectations a little bit and not try to, throw at us this very heavy thing. They've even said that this Halo is supposed to be a spiritual reboot and a new jumping off point for fans. What do you guys think of this new marketing approach?
I think it's the right thing to do. I think they just, if you've ever heard the saying, put up and shut up, or shut up and put up, either way, I think that's what they're doing. Instead of marketing it as how they did with 5, I think they said, you know what, we're just going to give these guys gameplay. We're going to let the game speak for itself. And I think that was the right move, because rather than give fans this expectation of what the game is going to be, which leads it to being a letdown, they let you make your own opinion with what you see, not with what they tell you. So it sounds like we agree about Halo 5 that the marketing was obviously a disaster, because you were going into that game expecting a riveting story of, oh, Chief is going bad, what happened, I want to know, and you got left with a shell of what was advertised.
I agree.
It led up to such an unclimactic story, because we were sold this theatrical journey of Chief maybe possibly going to the dark side. We don't know, and you're hearing all about this transformation. We never get to see anything. So I think this time around maybe they'll keep story details closer to their chest, as you said, maybe by letting us see gameplay, people are already more excited than they would have been for 5. Because 5 being a letdown makes fans skeptical of the series. I mean, we've all heard it. People don't think Halo's what it used to be. They've been saying that since 4. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think what they're doing, to answer your question, I think what they are doing is right this time.
Before, I want to get your opinion on this too, Clay. The one thing I just wanted to throw in there, Matt, for a little bit of additional thing is, while they are playing their cards close to their chest, this is an extremely late gameplay reveal. With having seen the game for 2 years, and we see it here, Holiday 2020 is at maximum 5 months away.
So, at time of recording, it's really 4 months away.
Yeah, I say
we're about to be in August, so.
Yeah, I say at max. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I agree with the, show don't tell, but this is definitely a late thing. Quay, what is your opinion on this?
So, Matt, you were saying that the gameplay looked good.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Quay, before we get to the
fan.
gameplay, we just want to talk a little bit on the reveal, the idea of like how they're showing this and how they're pushing this game instead of like.
How do you feel they're pushing this game as compared to Halo 5?
It's tough because, like, okay, yes, we
Is
know
it
the
a better
marketing.
approach?
The marketing was terrible on Halo 5, but I mean, the marketing on this game too has been, I mean, for what we've seen so far, especially from this gameplay, it's been kind of bad too in its own way, because especially showing it as, showing a part of the game that's an earlier build probably wasn't the best idea, especially as it was the first thing they showed at the showcase event. And it not being the latest build of the game, I think, hurts it. And especially, I mean, there's tons of memes. There's tons of memes on just how everything looked. It didn't look up to, next gen standards. And I think that kind of hurts the game, to be honest.
Let me rebuttal you. If you have anything else, do you have anything else on that?
Go ahead.
Would you rather have a game like Watch Dogs where they show you an incredible version and then you get it in your hands and it looks like a steaming pile of dog shit? Or
No.
would you rather see an earlier build? Obviously, you just want the games to come as you saw it.
Exactly.
This is more on the optimistic side that, okay, you're seeing alpha. When you get the game, it's going to look better. Rather than, okay, we beefed up the game and you're seeing insane looking gameplay and then you get it and the world is just full of gray garbage.
I still think that hurts it, though, showing it as an earlier build. Like, just
think
show it as it is now,
I think we have to talk about, there's a very big thing that I think in terms of this gameplay reveal that we have to talk, that I think you can't just ignore, is that they likely haven't been working in the studio since March. Remember.
That's a fair point, actually, too.
So
that is very fair.
That's what I partly think why that this build may not. We've heard speculate. I believe we know it's an earlier build. How early we do not know, but it's most likely that it was a very difficult transition to this this work from home system
Well,
they
we're in a
had
whole
to
new
do.
world now.
It's true.
For video game developers, for everybody really, we're in a whole new world. But you mean you go from working with a team in an office every day to now communicating through Zoom and developing things in your house. I'm sure goes much different than at home. I'm sorry, in the office. So, but do we cut them slack because they're still showing this as a product? That they're trying to sell to us. If you got a sales pitch and the salesman showed up and said, sorry, it's not my best pitch. My wife kept me up last night.
I think
you take that,
It's something to take into account with what we saw. I like to think of this mentality of it's a you think of it as the reason, not as the excuse. That we can understand why this, looks the way it is, or there might be some things that could have been more polished or better, given circumstances. So I think we can award them a little bit of slack in that regard.
So I feel like now would be a good time to maybe transition into talking about what we actually saw, because we're starting to leak into that conversation.
Yeah.
I want to start it off by saying the game didn't necessarily knock the socks off me the way it looked, but it still looked pretty damn good.
The combat.
It didn't. Well, I'm just mean, if we're talking straight how it looked, I don't think the game looked horrible.
No.
By any means. It did not look like, oh, this is the Xbox Series X we're trying to sell you. No,
Right.
That didn't blow the pants off me. But in the purpose of the fact of how it looks as a game, I don't think it looks horrible. I think that the colors looked okay. Ray tracing will obviously do wonders for any game, but that one, of course, with landscapes, how they looked in that trailer, gameplay.
Dynamic lighting is also here too. No pre-baked lighting. I believe there isn't pre-baked lighting. I think because they said it has a day-night cycle, so everything so that's part of the reason I think we can see maybe like some of the worst graphics, because lighting is one of the most expensive parts of a game.
Of course, and that can make or break a game as well. But to stay kind of with what I was saying, I don't think it didn't blow the socks off of me, but it also didn't make me go, wow, this looks terrible. I think it honestly looked like a game that could come out a year ago, or this year. Not even on a new Xbox. Yeah. But to that point, it doesn't mean it looks bad. I would expect it to look better, but we have to see. We're gonna get more into that later, I'm sure.
I want to mention.
You go ahead, Quaid.
Oh, okay, thank you. I want to mention too that it's as we saw when they opened up the map, it looks more like not necessarily open world, but like an open mission layout. So
there's speculation that it could be like Metro Exodus, a series of open worlds.
I thought it might be more like Gears, how Gears did it. How you have
another
the map.
Example too.
You have the map, and inside that map you have objectives you go to, and then it becomes linear while you're in that objective area, and then you can leave it once you're finished with it. And I thought that looked pretty cool. I was like, okay, it's innovative. They're moving forward and they want to use this style instead of the typical linear style we've been getting with Halo. And we got to remember too, Halo Combat Evolved had a system like that. On the second mission, I forget the name.
That degree, though.
No, but it was no, it wasn't. But
we'll get into that a little bit later.
It had an open world-esque feel to it on the island. I forget the name of the mission.
The cartographer.
The cartographer, sure.
Well, we'll get into
even the second mission
later.
did too.
Halo.
But so another game actually I want to mention, just while we're on this topic, super old. I'm sure people out there have played it. I would say it's somewhat of a cult classic. Medal of Honor Airborne adopted that same system. It was one of the first games like that. Where that game put you on a map.
Was that the one where you parachuted in?
Yep, every mission you parachute in, you get put down on a map, and you go and do the objectives, and towards the end of the missions, sometimes it would be a linear section. Once you complete all the objectives, it would be somewhat of a linear system. You finish the mission, and then you're on to the next one. So I'm personally a fan of that system. So if Halo does that well, especially with the mix of this grappling hook, allowing you to traverse the map, I feel like giving like that little, Halo's always been known for having the skulls hidden. That might change the game, and Easter eggs and, exploration is something that Halo's, it's never shied from it, allowing you to jump in places you didn't think you could get, finding a skull. With the grappling hook and semi-open world or hub-based missions, it could really open the franchise up to a whole new fan base, rather than, like I said earlier, linear, follow this guy, kill these guys, save the day. Now we have go here, go there, a little more planning, a little more tacticality to what you're doing, rather than just holding right trigger and pressing X every couple minutes. So we'll have to see. How do you guys think that the linear Halo is what makes Halo Halo, or do you think that Halo will still feel Halo-esque
Oh,
going
it's
in this
tough,
direction.
actually.
So, a thing is, a very similar game in terms of this, that actually I think is a good transition from a paratrooper game, is a Halo game with a similar type
Oh,
of
I can only
character.
imagine where you're going with this.
ODST
Yeah.
was
Great
an
game.
open world
That's
game
true.
with periods of linear missions. So Halo has dipped its toes entirely in the open world sequence before. And ODST is very well regarded. I think it's a very good game. But before we get to, I first want to touch on just the core gameplay from what we saw. Is uh, in terms of my opinion on the visuals, I think they went with, in terms of when I look back at the oldest Halos, Halo 1, Combat Evolved, and Halo 2, I think Halo 1 has an element more of stylization to it than I think Halo 2 does. I think there's elements of it, where they were obviously limited by the tech, where the graphics aren't the best, but they didn't try to fully push the boundary. And I think Halo 2, they did. That game looked phenomenal for 2004.
That game did look
But-
amazing.
But I find myself not as often playing in Halo 2's classic graphics in Master Chief Collection. While personally, and I'll admit, I have to admit a bias in this, I am a huge Combat Evolved fan, so my opinion on the graphics may be swayed. I think Combat Evolved's graphics don't hold up to modern standards, but I think they still look okay to good. It's like, I think you could play the game in old graphics and be okay with it rather than you would with Halo 2. But in terms of just the gameplay core loop, this Halo, I think they got the gameplay down. It looks great. I think it looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. And just going through, it looks just like classic Halo to me, personally. You get your assault rifle, you mow down a few squads of grunts, you throw sticky grenades at heavy enemies, you swap weapons on the fly, you're getting precision headshots, grabbing a shotgun, blowing away brutes and elites. It looks like a blast to me, and I'm so excited to play it just because for me, I don't think it personally need to redo Halo a ton. Halo has never been the most complex shooter. There's no aim down sights and, hold your breath when you scope in. You're just a fun super soldier blasting away through some enemies. And we did see some more modernizations. The grappling hook, a la similar to Doom. We have sprint, and advanced mobility. I believe you can even see Chief go slide at one point.
Really?
I think it's.
I could have missed that.
Shortly
very well could have
after
missed that.
if you want to look it up, I believe it's shortly after he uses the grappling hook. When he goes to attack a grunt, I believe he slides towards them.
Interesting.
So I actually really liked Halo 5's advanced mobility, and I think all that, it just looks like it's gonna be fun. That's my simplest response. I know I've been talking for a second. You can go.
No, you're
sorry.
good. Well, no, you're okay. Let me piggyback off of that to mention another game that I think. Now I'm comparing it to these games because I'm hoping that this is the direction Halo goes, and I don't want to stray too far off the game show. But Borderlands is a franchise, 1 and 2. Limited mobility, but not terrible. 3. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was a slide in Borderlands, correct? In 1 and 2?
Not in 1 and 2. In 3 there is.
But 3, there's a slide. You can mantle on things, so that adds a whole new level of verticality. And I think if Halo does this right, it could make the gameplay a hell of a lot more exciting. I mean, you're fighting, Halo 1, 2, 3, some of the best games of all time. But like you said, they're more simple. They're on the simple side of shooting. Whereas having the ability to, I'm in cover, I'm getting shot at, I can grapple hook somewhere, swing somewhere, and then slide behind cover. Having flow in games, I don't think has ever really turned out poorly, unless it was not good. Unless the mechanics itself were poor mechanics. But having the ability to slide and flow and move across a map is, another great game that I love for mobility, the Far Cry series. In 2 you didn't see as much of it, but in 3 you can slide, you can climb on some certain points. I think adding verticality expands your
I believe you could slide into.
No, you could slide into, but you couldn't climb and stuff. This
No,
slide
you
into
could
is
not.
actually really good because
Mhm.
sliding to the long grass. But anywho, I think
Yeah.
adding advanced mobility when done right will only make your game better. And now that
Mm-hmm.
Halo is going towards more of an open, in the linear missions that in linear games, it might be a little different because obviously there's only so many places you can climb. But when you're getting
Mhm.
this now open world and now you have that advanced mobility, it as a player it makes you feel like, okay, maybe I can get anywhere I want to get by trying. It offers up that little bit of curiosity where, in Call of Duty you play a mission and there's places you can't get. You're almost
Mm-hmm.
following a set path every time. Whereas you play Borderlands and you see somewhere, you're like, oh, I wonder if I can get there.
Mhm.
And I think when games are done like that, it offers this like very innocent feeling of being able to explore places you didn't even know you could get. We might see with this Halo people finding, like I said, skulls in crazy places because they grappling hook swung somewhere that they just wanted to say, huh, let me see if I can do this, rather than, okay, let me just follow Sergeant Johnson to the objective. Not that that's all Halo ever was, but I think when you give the power to the players to reach places, I think they'll do it. And that's why we find Easter eggs in games, and that's why, it gives this players a sense of curiosity that I think um, just makes the
Yeah.
game more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And sometimes being able to slide just feels badass in a game.
Yeah. I think Halo in the past is even without like all these new mobility things that they want to add to this Halo, like the grappling hook and sliding and all that. Even in the old Halos, like Halo 3, without all that, we still had skulls that were in hard to reach places. You had to
Oh,
use, rocket jumping, grenade
you know
jumping,
what?
grab
I was gonna
lifts.
just say
So
that
it's
when you
like
said
it's like
that.
they've
That's
already had
yeah.
this like
People figured it out.
concept. Yeah, they've already had this
Mhm.
concept of like mobility and trying to get to these places, and now with all these with an open world map and with all these different grappling hooks, and who knows if there's other things. Maybe there's more than just a grappling hook.
Well,
Um,
when
so
you're all set, let me offer you guys a crazy idea.
Don't
Well, not an
forget,
idea, but
Halo 5 also had most of this advanced mobility, but the difference uh, was that you also had like thruster boosting and ground pounding, which was quite controversial still.
let me throw this into the mix now. Okay? So we have the most advanced mobility the series has had, right? I have this crazy idea, and I was mentioning it to John. What if we can see upgrades for Chief? What if we see, okay, Chief, you do these bonus objectives on the TAC map? Your grappling hook can go 15 meters further, or you have thrusters now. What if they add some RPG elements where you're now doing things? And I'm not saying that this would make it better. This is just an idea.
Hmm.
But, for some reason, seeing that opening cinematic of the suit being created made me think, what if they gave power to the players to pick and choose what they want for Chief? What if you can get
Hmm.
super soldier sprint? What if you can get a tackle? You saw him in that game. He grappled onto an enemy and punched him. What if you can get a special animation where it's like an assassination from Halo Reach? What if now there's stealth in Halo with this open worldness?
Hmm.
There's so many routes they can go with it not being linear because it opens up to exploration and the ability, when games are linear, they are almost more scripted. You guys know what I mean? They're almost
I.
like everything
oh yeah,
happens
of
when they
course.
need to happen because
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
just
Yep.
scripted like a movie. Whereas like games like Far Cry and Borderlands, there is no script. The player creates the moments they
Hmm.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're going to try to go to this direction where the players have the power and they can choose, okay, their chief has thrusters and a better grappling hook, so all of a sudden you're reaching the highest points of the battlefield. Some guys may have the shield that chief threw down, a better shield that maybe fully surrounds him, or maybe, it lasts longer. Things that the players can build to their playstyle. That's all
Hmm.
speculation, but I think that would be a good way to take this a little bit more of open worldness, is give more power to the players to decide how they play.
I think we'll like see some. I think we might see a little bit of rewarding exploration. I think your
Yeah.
Borderlands comparison was great. I was actually thinking the same thing because when I played that game, it heavily rewarded you for exploring around the area. I don't
I'm
know if
sorry,
there.
what you're talking about Borderlands? I missed
Yes.
okay.
Yes. I think in Infinite we may not see total RPG elements, but we
Mm-hmm.
will definitely see some kind of rewards. with the fact that, if I see a banished camp ahead of me, then I can take a look around, and it's like, okay, there's a river that runs along the side of it. I can walk through there and sneak up behind that way. Or look, there's a radio tower that's broken leaning against something. I can grapple up there and use it as a sniper position. And as you go into some of these spots, they might actually supply you with the tools you need for exploring. If you get to an elevated vantage point, there might be a DMR, a battle rifle, or a sniper rifle up there. There might be a shotgun, in the back of the base, or like rockets. You'll be able to find equipment that can help you with engagements through exploration, and that's not something completely unknown to Halo. There's like notable ones in Combat Evolved and Halo 2, and all the Halos actually. There's often been some locations where dead Marines are found with weapons.
Rocket launchers, absolutely.
Combat Evolved, if you remember the mission Assault on the Control Room, as a great example of two very well hidden caches. One is if you are the first one is when you reach the large underground chasm. If instead of going left across the bridge, you go right, you find rockets, sniper ammo, assault rifle ammo, pistols. And again, more ammo when you're about to assault the spire the giant structure that leads up to the control room. At the bottom of it, in a little crevice, is another supply of ammunition. They like to give you rewards for moving around these areas, which I think is going to be great and fun. But I think also, in terms of this, while talking about this, I do want to talk about for a little bit this. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the new enemy we have seen, the Banished, which I have seen them say we want to introduce people that I've seen 343 say we want to introduce a new enemy for the players to fight, so that if they can jump in with this Halo and still feel a part of it. Ironically, though, their brand new enemy is one from a spin-off strategy game, so it's not even entirely new, but that's just a little bit of humor to it. What do you guys think of this new Banished enemy you've seen? And if you're unaware, I can answer some questions on them, as I have played Halo Wars 2.
I'll let you take this one away first, Quaid.
All right, yeah, sure. So, you're right. We have seen the Banished before, and I think it was in Halo Wars 2, right?
Halo Wars 2,
yeah.
Yes. Which took place. Sorry, just for a little bit of.
Yeah, go ahead.
This the Halo timeline is also a little bit muddied. I do want to circle back later about the Cortana created stuff, but Halo Wars 2 took place, I believe, 6 months after the events of Halo 5 Guardians, and I believe Halo Infinite takes place like 1 or 2 years after Guardians ends.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, because they mentioned in the beginning, don't we have some sort of timeline with the 360 something days after we lost?
I believe it's 180 something, maybe 187 days since we lost.
So it kind of gives you somewhere.
And it also gives an exact date too of I think it's May 27th, 2060. So I think the other games are set in 2558. Mm-hmm. So that's very, I know, technical, but it's just for a little bit of where we stand.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I think the enemies look cool. I think I really like the Banished, to be honest. That the main foe we have there. I forget his name, or if he had a name, Patriarch or Atriox or something like that. Atriox, yeah. I thought he looked pretty cool. It kind of actually reminded me of. I got a little bit of Thanos vibes in there, but I think it looks really cool. And I like seeing the Covenant again, the Grunts. I like seeing the Brutes and seeing them to work together. I think that's it kind of brings back nostalgia.
It's not Atriox, by the way.
Oh, what?
That is not Atriox. That is Ekarim or something.
Oh,
I'll find the name for you. We have not. He is new. We have not seen.
Okay.
He might be a little bit. I know, a little bit of timeline. We have. He spoke. I'll find his name while we're talking shortly. But again, a little bit of timeline events. Atriox is currently on the Ark, battling, or last seen battling, Cutter in the Spirit of Fire. So we don't know where he is, and even he states Atriox's legacy. So there is some speculation: is Atriox alive? Is he dead? What is going on here? We do not know, so to speak, but we are very... Yeah,
oh, go ahead, sorry. No, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so we don't know. This guy's new. He hasn't been seen. He's not part of Atriox's pre-existing people. I did look it up, by the way. I believe the brute's name is Escaram or something.
So, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. So,
We'll call him
that
Brute Leader.
The Brute Leader, I really actually enjoyed that section of the gameplay because, as Quaid mentioned, with the Thanos vibe, I actually got the same thing when his face comes into the camera and he mentions the Chief. I wish I could say it was hard defeating your people.
Yeah.
I forget the exact quote, but I actually watching that felt the same way. Like, wow, like this dude is like ruthless, and I love it because I love having. I think a good villain is just as important as a good main character because you need somebody to drive the story, and even if Brute Leader ends up being a step-up boss into later Atriox into the story, I believe having 1-2 good villains could do the game no harm as long as the pacing is done well. I really like seeing that villain, and he reminded me of the Brute from the end of Halo 2. Esther, you probably know. Yes, you know more about him than I do. Just seeing it reminded me of that, being a kid playing Halo 2. But I'm very excited to see how that plays out because I was not very passionate about Halo 4. What was the Promethean leader's name?
The Didact.
The
The Didact.
The 343's bosses were the Didact, the Warden Eternal. Neither really.
I was never really locked in to that. That's when they kind of lost me personally. Then we get into Halo 5 with Locke, Chief.
I just want to say something about the Didact in terms of 343's execution of him. Were you aware that at the end, the Didact is not killed at the end of Halo 4?
When he falls into the
he dies, I believe, in a comic afterwards.
Oh.
That's one of that in my opinion is 343. Before I think this new War Chief looks great, but 343's villain track record is not stellar.
I agree.
Well, if
the Didact was killed, and 343 has stated they have a problem with external media, meaning too much of their Halo information comes from books and side content, which I personally love that content, but it should add to the game's experience, not be required material to understand why.
Yeah, because now you also get into the tricky subject of canon. Is the Didact dying in that instance of Halo 4 canon to the story, or are we supposed to go by what the comic is saying?
The comic, I believe. I think
so. The comic is canon.
All of Halo's material is canon, unless proven otherwise by 343 themselves or games.
So okay. Yeah, it's just that is not just a Halo problem. I think a lot of games have issues with Walking Dead is another one with the show. There's been games, and then the comic obviously is something. You have so much different variations of media. Obviously, comic books we can go on for hours and hours with how Spider-Man died in this edition. So not to get too off topic with that, but yeah, I think that could be a problem for any game. So
it's just an issue 343 has struggled with in the past, and I am so happy to see the Banished, but I am also concerned that they might try to wrap up Atriox's, they might wrap up Atriox's story without without a true ending to Halo Wars 2, or they might lean too heavily on the events of Halo Wars 2 when you're coming into this game having never played that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think. Well, they mentioned this is going to be a Halo that anybody can jump into. So, I mean, hopefully they can stick to that and not have people such as myself who didn't play Halo Wars 2 be lost in the dust with any of
Yeah.
that story. Hopefully, if they're going to continue that, hopefully they do a
Mhm.
well enough job giving us the information because um, the story is what drives people to continue playing a game and what gets them invested. And
Mhm.
without a good story, you have a hard time keeping people there to play.
Yeah.
A
So
good story is what drives good gameplay.
Uh-huh.
so to we've been talking about Halo for quite some
Yeah.
time. There's a few quick things I want to talk about quickly, so I'll go through them. I'll run through the subjects, and we'll all give quick reactions to them.
Mhm.
From what we from in terms of Cortana, from 343 released a Waypoint article, I believe, in which they talked about people who it was longtime fans will see a continuation of the events of Halo 5 Guardians, and then so while we don't know what's happening with her now, we might see some continuation with that in the future. Then afterward, so that's like in terms of that. Hopefully, we'll see something in terms of her, and she's not just thrown on the wayside.
Yeah.
The new art style. What do you guys think? I am a big fan of the new art
I
direction.
like it too.
It's like a mix of new and classic.
Yes.
A lot of the new designs I think look good.
Mhm.
We even got to see the battle rifle at one point.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved the way the assault rifle looked and the battle rifle.
Mhm.
The guns looked, the gun he was firing that looked like he was firing energy balls, I guess I'll call them later. Um,
Hmm.
I obviously that's a terrible description, but those it looked interesting. But Halo's never been the type of game to really have normal looking guns. Obviously, look at any of the Covenant guns.
Hmm.
I loved the assault rifle. I think that's huge because that's Halo's flagship franchise gun right there, the assault rifle or the Magnum.
Mhm.
But the assault
Yeah.
rifle, battle rifle, looked great. I'm sorry, battle rifle or DMR was at
The
the end
battle
there.
rifle.
Battle rifle.
We didn't see if you look in the campaign trailer, you can see that. But it's not visible in the regular demo.
Yeah, the assault rifle looked amazing. I think that's huge for me.
I think yep.
Yeah.
I think also it's a good. I think 343 has learned in the past an issue, and this was a Bungie issue as well. And this is just a small little last tidbit on art, is that with advances in tech, model poly counts have been able to get much better. And if you look at Halo Reach, I think was the first start of it, where they start to add just a ton of little extra geometry to things that don't need it. If you look at the Halo Reach assault rifle, I love the design, but there's a lot of just clutter on there. This looks like a much neater version of it, and I think they've done a good job of expanding, but also keeping it simple in terms of all the weapon designs we've seen. There's none with a lot of like jagged little greebles, spewing off of them. Looks like nice, sleek, great designs.
Yeah. Yeah. No. All good points.
Mm.
There's a lot, and then there's more to say about Halo. We could
I think-
make it a whole podcast just about Halo and the whole series and what they've shown at the
I think-
showcase event.
To wrap it up, Quaid, as you pointed out, they are trying to redo like the originals, and they're trying to do a callback. And what we've
Yeah.
seen, I think, is we've seen this Halo Infinite looks like the second level, aptly named Halo of Halo Combat Evolved, expanded into a full game. And that second mission, that later on you have to go to 3 separate objectives. You can handle them in any order, approach them from any ways, and it is
Yep.
actually like a real open world section.
Yeah.
And the Silent Cartographer, the 4th mission, same around the island.
Mhm.
It looks like Halo has had its roots in an open world earlier, and they're finally expanding that fully.
Yeah.
And I'm heavily excited for it.
Yeah. And in that sense,
we
I
all
guess they are, coming back to the roots, you could say.
I guess that's one way. Well, we'll get into that another time, but
Yeah.
there was also a good mix of linear and definitely open world missions, but it looks like they decided to go more with the open map or open battle area, hub world, whatever you want to call it.
As
It
far
looks
as
like they're going with this direction, which I think, like I said earlier, I think they do it well. They can knock it out of the park.
and we'll keep
We
our
will.
eyes on it.
Yeah, we will have to
We've
see.
got it'll definitely have to be more content drops. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's only like what,
Yeah.
4 months for
Yeah.
it, and we
Yeah.
still haven't even seen multiplayer.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, enough of Halo. Let's move on to some of the other games that we thought were cool. But before that, I do also want to introduce someone who just joined the podcast. John, are you there?
Hey everybody, how's it going? What's going on, guys?
So we got John now along with us. Eski, if you want to start off what you liked from the other games, if you didn't like some,
Okay.
go ahead, let us know.
So, to start on more of like a positive note, the 2 games that actually jumped out to me that I was surprised to see, but I am very curious about and hopeful, is the first one being Stalker 2. I, as of the past few years, have gotten, since playing through the Metro games, I've actually been very interested in playing some of these Stalker titles, but
Yeah.
it's one of those ones where it's difficult to get into because they're
Yes.
older visually and quite difficult at times. So a new Stalker experience on Xbox, I am really excited for it to see what we get to do in there.
That was a very nice surprise.
Yeah.
And something that I'm also really curious about, I don't know as much, but I did speak to people that are big fans of the series, of the overarching thing. Right after Stalker, we also saw a game, I think it's Darktide Warhammer 40K.
Yes,
The,
I did see that.
It looks like it could be like a Left or Dead type experience in the fort and the Warhammer world.
Yeah.
And speaking to people that know it quite well, they say it's like that might be what it is, and it looks really cool. So both those games were a bit of like a shock to me, and I'm happy. A new Eastern European post-apocalyptic is always fun, and I'm a big fan of zombie shooters.
Yeah.
If you you know, they both be on Game Pass.
Matt?
I want to mention I'm going to mention a thing I like and a thing that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much looking forward to, as you guys know, Grounded. I think that could be a secret hit, which it's an Xbox only, if I'm correct. Maybe PC,
Xbox and Microsoft Windows. We did actually check that earlier.
So I actually want to get into something with that a little later, which I think where we're going to go with the podcast. But I'm super stoked for Grounded. I think that might be I don't want to call it an amazing exclusive for Xbox, but I think that game has a lot of potential. Something I'm going to keep my eye on, but I'm skeptical about, is State of Decay 3. They didn't show much. What did we have? 30, 45 seconds, that little cinematic. Just
it's
a trailer.
cinematic trailer.
But we may stand different on this, and we don't have to get too deep into it. I'm not the biggest fan of 1 and 2. I could definitely give 2 more time to see if I can come around to it. So, for what we got from 3, it wasn't much, so I think that's what I'm going to have to say is something I didn't like was, 3 is not one of their, flagship franchises, so to say. I would like to see some more new, third part or AAA games coming. Grounded, I'm super stoked for. Would like to see something more exciting than State of Decay 3, as I believe, was that the second game shown or the third?
It
Yeah,
was.
It was in the beginning.
They showed off. So State of Decay was very early on. I believe it was. It might have actually been right after
I
Halo.
think it was
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, it was the second or
Yeah.
third, yeah.
I'm pretty
And
sure.
with that said, State of Decay looks fine. They look like good games. But that cinematic trailer was, it's
A little deceiving.
In
It's
comparison,
nothing like what the actual game
Mhm.
is. Let me
it's
just
like-
say that for people who haven't played
Mhm.
it. It's nothing at all like what the actual game
Yeah,
will be.
one
It's like-
side thing I have to say about that
It's
is,
like watching a trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 and then end up playing the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
I had actually had a friend who is normally a PlayStation player was interested in tuning in, and as soon as they started showing the cinematic for it, he had texted me, "What is this? This looks really cool." Then when they said it was State of Decay, he had asked me, "Is State of Decay, is it good?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's good, but I don't,
It's not
unless
that.
they're going in a completely new direction, I'm not sure if it's going to be anything like that trailer." So
And
I just had to give
to
him that little
piggyback
warning.
off that, the game is fairly cartoonish.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong
Which
with
is
that.
fine.
No, nothing wrong with that. But to show this and then you
Unless
Yeah.
they're going
that,
in a new.
Yeah, unless they're trying to make it look like The Last of Us. this-
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
if they're trying to make it look like The Last of Us, this should be the last one to come out
yeah,
and let the franchise die.
like I think the first State of Decay was better than the sequel,
I agree.
personally.
Yeah, a lot
but-
of people think that.
Yeah,
I
which
think,
is a
like-
problem in itself.
I think the game.
But-
I think again, I'm willing to try the third State of Decay, but just in comparison
Mhm.
with what we saw, like there is none of that even echoed anything. I know it's a cinematic trailer, and we can't, and they're usually
Yeah.
meant to like
Can't
get
dig
you
too deep.
they're meant to get you
But-
excited. But looking at that cinematic trailer, it's like that is nothing like the
Yeah,
game.
I
You
was
hide
more-
out, you set up a base and a house. Rarely, and it's like rarely do you have a campsite where you're hunting like a zombie deer. And they're like,
Yeah.
maybe they're trying
Mhm.
to get you like, this is gonna be new. I said to someone when we were watching, is this like a Daisy cinematic
Yeah,
trailer?
that's exactly what I thought. I was like, what? Daisy?
That, yeah, me and Quaid had actually watched it together, and that's
Yeah.
what he said.
Yeah, I was like, this
Thought
is
it was a
Daisy.
Daisy
That's so strange.
Add-on or Daisy 2
It's,
type
yeah,
thing.
it seemed much closer.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Let me,
Those cinematic trailers,
go ahead.
they always are always so deceiving.
Yeah,
It's
they're
just like you
always
can't, you gotta take them with a
goofed up,
grain
and
of
they look-
salt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's not even a trailer at that point. It's a teaser.
Yeah.
It's,
Because
it's, a,
nothing-
it's an
It's a-
advertisement.
It's a
And
It's
with,
like
It's
watching
a-
a sports ad
what it
for
really
like
is-
something.
it's a this game looks nothing like this, but we gotta show you something to
Yeah.
get you enticed.
yeah, and you know
and I
what's
think
This
that's why
trailer's
people-
marketing budget's like a third of the game development
Yeah.
cost.
I think
so let's
that's
hope it
I
looks
think
good.
that's the reason why people can get so upset when we only see those.
Yeah.
Because that's not how the games
Well,
are going to
Right.
turn
yeah.
out.
well, that's another thing I wanted to
Exactly.
talk about is like a lot of the things we saw at the showcase event wasn't gameplay. It was just like a
trailers.
cinematic trailer for the
It's like
game.
they did it
Mhm.
again.
Yeah. Well, a funny thing that a game that got a lot of hate for that. I know it wasn't shown here, so we'll keep it brief. But
Yep.
Assassin's Creed, they didn't
Yeah.
see gameplay, and the entire
Oh.
world was like shunning Ubisoft. We wanted gameplay. We only got a cinematic trailer.
Very
Mhm.
So it's
apt
like, why-
too, because it was
like,
at another
why-
Microsoft event. They released the
it's-
gameplay trailer, and there is maybe one frame of in-game rendering.
Yeah.
Everything
it's-
else is like,
Don't say gameplay and show me what is probably being shown on a
Mhm.
beefed up PC as gameplay when it's
Like-
not.
you know,
It's
Which
and cinematic trailers again, they're fine, and you can't. But it should be some modicum of like what the game's actually gonna
Well,
be like.
yeah, some grain of salt of
Mhm.
what the actual game's like.
And
Mhm.
maybe in Save Decay 3, you will be in the woods with a crossbow hunting a zombie deer. But just like,
but it
I
ain't
don't
going to
know.
look like that.
It just it seems so out of left field. And I feel like there is an actual cinematic trailer for another State of Decay that didn't look like that. Like,
I think 2 had one, if I remember. I could be wrong. I think there was one for 2 that was the same situation.
I will try to find it. Yeah, there is a State of Decay 2 cinematic trailer. But you know what? Looking at this, like now, it is much different because it still looks cartoony in there, which is again fine. But there was no like, it didn't look like that a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Well, let's all remember this. Let's all remember the biggest bust of this in the world. How about Dead Island? When you saw that insane, beautiful cinematic trailer,
Oh
and everyone
my
thought the
goodness.
game was going to be that, with the
I-
little girl getting turned into
Mhm.
the zombie. The whole thing
Oh,
is shown
what a
backwards.
great trailer.
I
Yeah,
was-
the
Yeah, it was
trailer
great.
The
Yeah.
trailer is one of the
arguably better
best
than the
trailers.
game.
It's one of the best trailers ever made.
Not true, but
I
it-
think
it
it is.
was-
I think it's a good, powerful trailer. But
No. I was saying that the trailer is better than the game. The trailer
absolutely.
is amazing.
The trailer.
I'm a fan of the game.
I like
but-
Dead Island, but that game's like a 6.
Yeah, the trailer was
Yeah,
an 11
yeah.
out of 10. Though.
Yeah.
That trailer
Speaking
was
of
sick.
Techland, though, very surprised we did not get anything for Dying Light 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to agree because that seems like the perfect game to show off on a new console when you're running and jumping fast-paced around a city. You'd think you'd want to show 4K 60 FPS of high,
It's alright,
fast,
guys.
crazy
We did
gameplay.
get Tetris.
We did,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
the reason
oh,
I bring it up
yeah.
too is because we did see it. It was announced at a Microsoft event, but I think it's because the games was delayed that they're probably in like crunch, unfortunately. But John is right. We may not have gotten a brand new
Brand
but
new
we've
Tetris,
got
baby.
4K multiplayer
And-
Tetris.
Yeah, I've heard that the shapes are going to be so crisp and clean.
I
that-
heard they went from four vertices to still 4 vertices on
yeah,
a square.
I'm actually
Wow.
pretty sure that my computer in my basement with 512 RAM can actually run Tetris 4K. I'm pretty sure it
Wasn't
can.
here's how
So-
wasn't Tetris made in like the Soviet Union? That's
yeah, I
how
think it
old
was.
Well, yeah. Well, what's perfect is we updated it for 4K, and you're getting it on your Xbox Series X
Yeah, Tetris
and
came out,
your Windows PC,
like.
and it has multiplayer. 4K, 4,000 FPS.
Can we just take a minute to like joke about like I think both of these events had games that I'm like, why are you showing this as like your next gen thing? For me, at Xbox, and I don't want to talk too much about the Sony thing, Tetris, but the biggest bait and switch I've seen out of this whole thing is when the PS5's event started. Do you remember the first logo we see is Rockstar Games? Like, we're gonna get something brand new, and it's just a game from the
GTA 5.
it's a game from the PS3.
Well, to be fair, it is still one of the biggest games around.
Oh, it makes
To
the
be
most, one of
fair,
the most. It's one
The
of the
game
most
outsold
expensive.
Horizon Zero Dawn in the
But-
month
Player
it came
base
out.
wise, it's still always.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Concurrent player,
if
but-
you're coming out here like, let's kick it off, brand new console, a game from a
And
game
Here's
not
a
even
game from 2013.
a game
I was
not
thinking
from your
Bully 2
previous
or
ones.
a GTA 6 in development announcement, and then we
Even
got
like a
that.
GTA update, like
Or a Red Dead 2 online
like
update.
we had something similar with like Bungie show like came to Microsoft's thing. The irony I think is hilarious.
Yeah,
by the
it
way,
is.
that Bungie separated
Coming
themselves
back.
so hard.
Came crawling back.
Destiny was pushed heavily for the PS4, and now they're
Mhm.
like, now they're like happy to be on Game Pass.
Maybe
Uh-huh.
come back.
I think that expansion's gonna
They
be
just
on
go
Game
to the
Pass.
highest bidder.
I thought the
which-
whole game was supposed to be on Game Pass.
It
Well,
already
the
is.
game,
That is.
the game,
It's
yes.
free to play.
Oh.
Free to play.
Oh,
Oh.
it's free on PC. The thing is, though, the reason I mention is, an expansion being on there is not something Game Pass often does. DLC is usually separate.
Well, to be fair, the expansions for Destiny are kind of like treated as new games. It seems. Like
I
they
know, but
bring it.
I'm saying
so
it's like a good thing.
yeah.
I'm like,
No, it's very
I
good.
want actually.
But
I played the first Destiny and I skipped out on
Oh,
the second
yeah.
one, but this new snowy environment and the fact that it's free, it's like I might test
Well,
it out a little bit.
if you guys are ready, because I kind of want to wrap up what we were just talking about
Yeah.
with the games.
Yeah.
I would
Hey,
like to
me and
kinda,
Quaid want to talk
to-
about what we liked.
Yeah,
quit-
yeah, we never
okay,
got-
yeah,
They
I'm
never
sorry, you're
mentioned.
right.
We,
So-
we went on some tangents.
It's 2 out of 4, buddy.
Yeah. All right, John, if you
So
want
you
to
guys
say.
go, and then I have a statement for you guys that'll guide us into the
Okay,
next
so-
topic. What do
It'll
you guys
knock
think?
your socks off.
I know I joined a little late, so is this just what we liked, or is this just our overall impressions?
No, this is
This is what we liked.
It
This is
The
wasn't
other
game.
games shown other than
game-wise.
Halo.
Game-wise.
Yeah,
Game-wise, what
Okay.
we liked.
All right,
John,
so
quick-
my
John,
favorite part.
You can talk. I
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
you can talk about Halo a little bit too, because you missed like
No,
our.
no, I won't. I'll say that was obviously the big gun. To me, it looked really good. I thought the gunplay looked like the best part. But
That was. Oh, sorry.
besides that, what really kind of knocked it out of the park to me was Obsidian. They,
Yeah?
Yeah.
obviously The Outer Worlds. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to it. I've only heard great things. I know all you guys like it.
Amazing game.
I just
So
started
amazing.
playing it, I think a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
And
I've only
for
heard
a
good
f-
things.
For a first game, like in its series, it is funny, witty, and enjoyable. I'd recommend
Yeah.
trying it as well.
Yeah,
I could
amazing.
tell even from just that DLC
It's a
trailer. I would
Borderlands.
love
It's
the
a
game.
Borderlands Fallout baby. But
Yeah,
anyway,
which sounds incredible.
could- yeah,
So
continue.
they had that DLC announcement, which looked awesome, and
They-
then
They said that wasn't in the Game Pass, right? Or that was like separate.
I'm not sure.
I think
to be
it is
honest with you.
separate. I think
I
it
will.
is separate.
I will
Because
check
they don't
while
really
you guys
do
talk about
DLC.
this.
So they had, so the thing that was so good about Obsidian was they just had announcement after announcement after announcement, because right after that, they had Psychonauts 2, which besides Halo, was one of my favorites. Psychonauts 1 was incredible.
That's
Wade, when me and you were
Double
watching,
Fine. I don't know if you're still talking about Obsidian. I just want to mention that's a different developer.
is it?
Yes, it's Double Fine Studios from
Okay, well I'm just a
Tim-
moron.
Tim Schafer. Sorry.
No, thank
They
you. I
did
don't
have
want-
another game though.
I don't
John.
want
They
to
had
say
they had
much.
3 games they showed off.
Yeah.
So, well, they had the Skyrim type RPG was them, right?
Avowed.
That they had announced.
Avowed, yeah.
Avowed, Grounded, and Outer Worlds DLC. I don't know why I was getting tripped up on that.
Wait, so who is the developer for Psychonaut?
Double Fine.
All right, well, yeah. So that looked
Regardless
They-
of developer,
they
though,
haven't
made a
regardless,
game in
you're
ages.
excited for Psychonauts, which is
Yeah.
is looking good.
Mm-hmm.
that the whole psychedelic vibe to it. The first one was amazing. If it's half as good as that one,
They got Jack Black.
If it's
Yeah,
half
That
as
was
good as
cool.
one,
Hey, I thought that was
it's
gonna be
still
cheesy.
Be 4
Dude.
times better than Tetris.
I
Me
did
and-
just
yeah.
I did just check it because it appeared for like half a second. The Parallel Gorgon, it says the Outer Worlds base game is available in an Xbox Game Pass. Parallel Gorgon must be purchased separately, and Xbox Game Pass members get 10% off.
oh, cool.
Awesome.
That's all right. They got to get their money somehow. I don't
Yeah,
mind
of
supporting
course.
good games
Nah,
like that.
listen, they're coming out with they're showing 3 big games, and I'm like, you know what? Good on you.
Yeah, I
so,
really-
mean, I
So
thought
aside
Obsidian
from
was very
Halo
cool.
and Psychonauts and Obsidian, are there any other games you like, John?
I mean, me and Quaid joke about the name, but I thought Gunk looked pretty cool. I love little colorful indie games like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, which
Yeah.
is why I thought Psychonauts looked so good.
Yeah.
Later, we'll discuss if you guys have seen. We'll briefly discuss the. They also separate from the showcase had an ID at Xbox showcase as well. That like we can briefly mention some of the games there too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, everything you guys have said, I agree.
Yeah.
Grounded, I'm excited for, but
I mean, it's
So
it's not
Quaid,
much, but
the best for last. Let's hear how you feel about Fable. Let us
oh
hear it.
well, yeah, of course they showed Fable. They
Yeah,
they scared me a
now
little
that
bit
one
there.
slipped through the cracks.
They scared me a little bit there because at the beginning they showed all the developers that were going to be
yeah,
shown,
You
and then
knew
they
it was
showed
coming.
Playground Games, and I was like, okay, well they're definitely not coming out with the Horizon because we have a Horizon now. The next one in line is Forza Motorsport. So, and then we saw Motorsport 2, so I was like, okay, so why do they got Playground Games there? And then finally, right at the end, they had to show Fable, just a little teaser, not much, but like, I was like, okay, cool, it's real, it's a thing, you know what I mean?
Well, it brings all those sleepless nights you've been having.
Yeah.
Finally get some rest now that you know Fable is making a return.
Yeah, I think Fable is definitely cool. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's much of a highlight because it's just like, okay, now we know it's a thing. It's not like I saw gameplay or anything. It's just like here's Fable, pretty much. It's
What's
it's
the- they
it's a
did-
thing.
We did get a little bit. It looks like they did capture a little bit of the humor though.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
oh yeah.
Like, there's one game that I remembered that I think you know about, Quaid, that we'll discuss after your
Yeah.
thing too.
Avowed definitely looked cool. Again, almost just like a little teaser. We don't know much about it yet, but that looked interesting. Stalker 2, of course. You know, talked about that. I've never played them, but I know they look really cool, and it was like Metro before Metro.
Yeah, most of the Metro devs were, I think, literally from
Yeah.
the Stalker team.
Forza Motorsport, of course, we saw that. That's always going to be a
God, the
beautiful, great
graphics.
game. You know,
Wow,
Yeah, the graphics are
that's
insane.
the next
That's-
gen looking game.
That's the bread.
racing
That's
games.
the breadwinner for graphics.
Racing games is where you show off your hardware. You
Yeah.
know, you got
Absolutely.
Gran
My
Turismo, you got
gosh.
Rain. You have rain particles on cars. The
Yeah,
way it
it's-
hit, like,
That,
the
like-
colors need to be top notch.
Aside
There-
from a little bit of the drivers themselves, that looked photorealistic, man.
I
that
actually,
was
like,
I was blown
to
away
be
by that.
honest, like when they were showing the car, I thought that was like their actual in the studio capturing
it
like
was
the
insane.
reference images, and then they showed like the drivers. I was like, what?
yeah.
So, actually, I wanted to mention too something. I think I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not sure anyone here has ever played one, but I think it's interesting. We are getting a Dragon Quest on Xbox, so that's kind of cool
Oh.
to see. This is the first one. It's the first Dragon Quest to be making its way to Xbox. So that's a little bit of expansion there, which is nice of games we're going to be getting. So if you guys are ready, I kind of want to start us on the final topic. If,
Real quick, the game I
yeah.
remembered that I forgot looked pretty interesting was Quaid. You played the multiplayer beta, so you can add to this. That the Crossfire
Crossfire?
X campaign from Remedy, the makers
Yeah.
of Alan Wake.
Yeah,
and
interesting.
I
Control.
didn't even think
Yeah.
that was
To
the
be
same
honest,
game.
To be honest, when
know,
I
it-
saw the footage when it was coming up, I was like, "The heck is this?" I didn't realize
thought
it
it
was
was a brand
Crossfire
new
until the
game.
end.
You were
It's
like,
so different
you were
from the
flabbergasted.
multiplayer.
It
It's
was
it's
so funny.
insane.
It looks like I'm actually surprisingly excited for this. This is like, in terms of like, I know like Valorant like came out to compete with CS:GO, and I know Crossfire's always been like the knockoff Counter-Strike, but this campaign looks like it. It could be. It looks like a Call of Duty campaign in terms of quality, and I mean like a good
Yeah.
COD campaign. It looks like
I
it
heard
looks like
something about
it
stealth
looks like a
suits and
a bit-
wingsuits.
Looks
in
like
something
a
I
bit
was
of
reading.
a better Battlefield campaign, if you know what I mean, in terms of the visual design.
Well, let's hope.
With like the quality of a COD.
Let's hope with the power of the Series X, we're gonna have some beautiful imagery, and
Mhm.
locations are gonna just be expanded upon much more with lighting and more assets. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I'm gonna put us into this third section
Put a
of the
pin in that
podcast
one.
with
Bring
a,
it in.
with a question opening
Wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up here, guys. Next, so 2 statements here I have for you guys. I think one thing for me personally that was insanely impressive is, if not all, a ginormous majority of the games we saw are going to be launching on Game Pass, meaning you're paying $15 a month
Every
for
single one, right?
State
I
of Decay
believe
3,
Every
Yep.
single beta
Stalker
game.
2,
Yeah.
Yep.
every single one.
Psychonauts. So every single game that they showed you, they said, hey, pay us $15 a month, you can play all of these.
Yeah.
So I was going to say earlier with State of Decay 3, the game, the cinematic trailer looks amazing. Okay, worst case scenario, the game comes out and it's not all that. You paid $15 for 1 month, which is less
It's-
than what the game is going to be in price, to have it.
That's
So,
not talked enough. That's not
Yeah,
talked
that
about enough,
honest-
man.
my
Yeah.
This
my next kind of going into this is, the statement I wanted to say was, Game Pass really is what stole the show, because we do not have to purchase, as all of us are Game Pass members, none of us have to purchase any of these games. We can play these games more than likely unlimitedly, because they'll be on Game Pass, I'd imagine, for their entire life.
if
we
not
have
for such a long
a
period.
Yeah.
if not for a long enough time, we get to play the game and experience the full thing.
There has
So-
never been anything so consumer friendly in
No,
gaming
at
industry
all.
history.
They're
There really
giving
hasn't.
us these games away. And Dragon Quest, a game that I've never touched, I can jump into it day one because it'll be on Game Pass. If I want to play with blocks, I can play Tetris Effect Connected day one, 4K, 120 FPS on Game Pass.
Like
But
with
so,
no, you go,
well,
Matt.
real
finish.
quick before you, I'm gonna just give you guys my second statement, which is more so gonna probably be the second half of this conversation. Is, for me personally, I own a gaming PC, and we have the dynamic that John doesn't. So it's gonna be an interesting conversation as this Game Pass, this game event actually made me not want to buy the new Xbox because for me, I believe every game we saw is on Game Pass, and I noticed that almost every game on there, if not all, was Windows PC Game Pass as well. So for people who already have PCs that are capable of playing these games, it doesn't offer an incentive to buy the console as much as to if you have a way to already play them at settings you're okay with. It kind of made me not want to buy the new Xbox because I got the security of knowing that I will be able to play most of these games on my Windows PC. So let me hear your guys' thoughts on how Game Pass is affecting how Game Pass is changing the way we play games, and if it incites you to buy the new console or to rock with what you've got already. So we'll start with
Okay,
us.
so
Or John, anyone, either one. Go ahead.
I just want to say quickly, because it's pretty blunt how I feel about this. Obviously, in comparison to Sony's, there wasn't as many big like wow moments, but I don't. Going back to what I stated before, I don't think it's talked about enough how consumer friendly and just awesome Game Pass is. It's truly the best thing Microsoft's done in a long time. The fact that we get all of this first party stuff for $15 a month. You get the xCloud now. You get all the games on PC. It's for $15 a month. Yeah, not to mention the online. People overlook that. It's just
you're getting Xbox Live built in. Yeah, it's a great point.
it's not talked about enough how awesome that is. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
It is the best bang for your buck. Like, I was watching, as I watch all these other press conferences, the Sony reveal, I was like, there's some little games in there that I'm like, this looks so cool. But I can't buy all these games. There's
Exactly.
there's games here where I'm like, I'd like to be able just to try this thing.
Exactly. There's so
And
many things we get to try now that are good that we wouldn't have been able to.
Already I'm excited for games, and then I'm even more with the fact that it's like you're putting in like a down payment on every single game coming out this fall.
And that down payment is so much less money than it's even worth.
And
you pay $180 a year between Forza, Halo, and Gears. That's 60. That's your $180, and that's if you don't even touch the hundreds of games they have.
Yeah.
I want to give you guys a quick experience I had, real quick. Yakuza. I've heard about it forever. It got dropped on Game Pass. I tried it. I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't play it long, so I could be misjudging it, but I didn't like it. I downloaded the game for free, and the only thing it cost me was my time to try and play the game. I downloaded it, didn't like it, deleted it. Grounded. I'm so excited for it to come out. I already have the game downloaded, ready to play, and I didn't have to pay a penny for it. So I think that's something important to know too, is it's literally a free demo to a full game, that if you don't like it, delete it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so with the whole Game Pass thing, like you said, we're getting all these games that were shown at the showcase event on Game Pass. We already have 100+ games on Game Pass. We get Xbox Live with it. We get the 100+ games. And recently, I'm pretty sure now we're getting xCloud streaming with it as well, all for $15. And honestly, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Wrong with that at all. You can play video games on your phone on the go.
xCloud.
iPad
to Xbox.
I played with the xCloud a little bit for a little while in the preview program, and when it worked, it was really sick. I was playing Halo, I was playing Call of Duty, I was playing Forza on my phone with no problems. Of course, it was in beta then. There was, if you didn't have a good signal, it would be terrible. But if you did have a good signal, it was a ton of fun. And you get that, with the two other things. You get Xbox Live and Game Pass, with all these games. So there's a tremendous value in it, and especially with, the first-party games, the AAA first-party games, Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable, Avowed now. It's you can't go wrong with it. And
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
when it comes to PlayStation, the way I see it, is the PS5. The reason to get it solely is for the exclusives. Period.
100%.
Exactly.
Now,
It's a
Xbox,
slightly
agree.
weaker
to
console.
me, I feel like Xbox has sort of two things going for it. One, it has a console, and it also has Game Pass. I think they're
Don't forget about the backwards compatibility, man.
yeah,
is
that too.
very
That's a
true
whole
as
other
well.
thing.
Forward compatibility for every single game we have on the Xbox
It's-
One,
Mhm.
plus the more they're going to add, because there were talks of possibly making even more 360 and Xbox original games backwards compatible.
Mhm.
So that's huge.
It's very
because,
nice not having to keep plugging in all my old consoles. It's very convenient. I can just plug in my new one and play all the old stuff on it.
Yeah. And Xbox has stronger hardware. We know that.
It
So
does slightly.
so all we have on PlayStation is exclusives. On Xbox, we have stronger hardware. We also have the Lockhart, which will be at a, lesser price in the Series X.
Not 100% confirmed though, correct?
The Lockhart?
Before we,
Yeah.
Is it
Microsoft
100%
themselves
confirmed?
haven't.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was. Well,
They've trademarked it.
promise that it's this.
This
Oh.
is like
Okay,
the
well-
worst console rollout I've seen in a while. Because we
It's
have
Yeah, I
no,
know.
no
We have no
prices,
idea.
I
We
know.
have no
release
idea what's going
dates,
on.
No idea. All we know is that
It's, I
console
do want to
Cold
just.
War is terrible because
It's terrible for the customer, and I think that's
yeah,
what they're
neither
forgetting
one of
is
them wants to save their
Yeah.
price and whatnot.
it's confusing
they
for
need
sure.
to remember people. I'm not even sold on buying an Xbox Series X, and I've been on the edge of my seat for the last month, waiting. I'm like a little kid again to know what the price is because it's just so exciting this time of the year when a new console's
We've
coming
never
out.
gone this deep without
And
knowing
the
the
games
price.
are coming out, and it's like Eski's right. This is 4 months out, and pre-orders haven't even started,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know what's going on with console availability because the Xbox One was limited availability, and there wasn't even COVID-19 going on.
They're gonna be very hard. Both of
Yeah,
them to
they're
find.
going to be. If you do not pre-order them day one, you are going to be waiting till Christmas or later, or paying eBay scalper prices. But real quick before we get to Quaid and Eski's opinions on the Game Pass, I want to mention with what Quaid said, xCloud. xCloud I think is a sleeper feature because not only are you allowing people to play games on their PC that are all Xbox now. I mean, Halo's launching on PC. This is a first. Not only are you allowing people with computers to be playing your games, you're opening up the market to people who have cell phones. I mean, who doesn't have a cell phone now?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there
Yeah.
may be limitations to that. Obviously, good network connection, but if I
Better have
could
that
Call of
Google
Duty,
Fiber.
I have a 12-inch
True.
iPad. If I could be playing a game on that, streaming. I mean, they're opening up their market to everybody, and I think, like you said, the reason I would buy a PS5 is because of the games. Xbox is looking beyond PS5. Xbox is looking way beyond Sony, and to me, this event kind of shows like, you know what? You can have the console market if you want it. We're
That's
gonna take
exactly-
everybody.
Yep.
We're
That's
gonna
the
take the
future of
people
the
who have
whole
computer.
industry.
We're gonna take the people on computer. We're gonna take the people who have phones. And I have a feeling at some point in the future we could even see Game Pass making its way to Nintendo somehow. You're
It'll
gonna
be
have
on
Game Pass
Switch.
on.
I
You're gonna
agree.
have Game Pass on the computer now. They've already had things done with Nintendo.
Yep.
I can play
Nintendo and
Minecraft
Microsoft
on my Xbox
have
account.
a very good friendship.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I could see those two working together. Screw it. You guys can have the console. You guys can make the PS5.
We're
We'll
gonna
You can have the games. We'll offer a stronger console, and we'll be able to let everybody play the games on anything they want. You guys can keep the console. We'll take the entire market, is what I think they're trying to do with this.
And Matt, can I just say something quick?
Yeah.
You know, we in our conversations, like outside of the videos and the podcasts, you know, what I've always said to you is all these studios that Microsoft bought back in what, 2018?
Well, 2018, 2019. Last
there's-
summer, I think, was the big year.
There's not going to be banger games right off the rip for the Xbox Series X, you know, compared to the PlayStation. But come 2 or 3 years, I think it's going to be a different conversation because all these studios they bought, they're going to start
Mhm.
pumping out the games they've been
Well,
making.
yeah. I mean, look at Avowed, dude. Avowed is coming from Obsidian Entertainment, which Xbox bought Obsidian. So Avowed is a game we might see a year from now.
Mhm.
And you're right. This is only the beginning. PlayStation may have the exclusives now,
Yeah.
but will that last forever is a whole nother conversation, because you're right. They just bought, I believe, 13 studios, and Obsidian is no joke of a studio.
No.
They
Yeah.
brought,
It's a big one.
Esky, I'm sure you know, they were a big part of New Vegas.
Well, they made it.
They okay, so I didn't know. I didn't know if it was just solely them. Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty
big, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was okay. Maybe they did the advertising for it.
You know, I hear
So
Bungie
they
had a
brought
hand in
some-
making some of those Halo
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Definitely go.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, dude. They bought these studios last year. We couldn't have
Yeah.
expected the games to be ready now. Give it a year or two when they really start to harness the power of these consoles as well.
Look at
We could be
Hellblade.
seeing.
That's
yeah,
really gonna be great.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Quaid, I would like to hear how you feel about Game Pass and its change of direction for Microsoft. And I actually would like to I'd like to start hearing you guys tell me if this event made you want to buy the new Xbox or not.
Well, I think, like I said before, Game Pass offers so much for us. Just for $15 a month, it's like it's almost overwhelming. And I think personally, like, one of the greatest things about Game Pass for me is, like, I went and I downloaded Metro Exodus while it was on Game Pass. I played through the whole game, enjoyed it, loved it, thought it was a great game. Didn't have to spend $60 on it. Got taken
Yeah.
out of Game Pass. I had my fix, loved it. I have no complaints. That was the perfect scenario for me. Because I didn't want to play. I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, I could have paid $60, but instead, went on Game Pass, and I just played it there, and
And you
right
played
there.
through all of it, right?
Yeah, I played through all of it. Finished the
Yeah.
game. I really enjoyed it, and then it was taken off Game Pass, and don't regret it at all. It's like, okay, that's the perfect example.
But it's something you never even would have gotten to do.
No. It's not that I don't want to pay $60. It's like, you got other things to pay for. When
Well,
you're old, you got
sometimes-
adult, you got fucking bills and food and
We
stuff.
just
It's like,
can't
I don't
afford
want to spend $60 on a game. And and now we have NBA 2K who wants to try and make them $70. Like, that's crazy. But I just want to add one last thing is, like, in terms, if you want to talk about the console wars, which console will sell more? Probably PlayStation. But which one will have overall the most value and the most revenue? I think it's going to be Xbox, because you have Game Pass. You have a console now. You have all these different things. They're diversifying themselves, So
They're planning.
Microsoft doesn't
Yeah.
care about the hardware. They don't
They're-
care about losing
No.
the
money
more
on
you
it.
think about it, no,
sell
they
lots
don't.
of stuff. Microsoft cares. They're like, how many? And listen,
Subscriptions.
both of them are. Both the reasons. The reason they sell consoles is so people will buy games on their console. That's specifically the reason. And I think Microsoft is like, we don't want to have more consoles. We want to have more subscriptions, because that is a consistent revenue source that is, again, it's surprisingly consumer friendly. Like, it's really consumer friendly. And that's why they're like, we're going to support the Xbox One for 2 more years. We're going to have the Xbox Series X. It's going to be on PC. And there might even be a weaker new console. It's going to be, they're like, just buy an Xbox and play our games on it.
Let me just put this figure into your guys' head here, which I kind of just thought was funny. I could buy 3 PlayStation exclusives for the same price that I could have Xbox Live. Because let's remember, you have to pay for PSN. You have to pay for the function of multiplayer on the PlayStation. For the same amount that I could buy 3 of the PlayStation exclusives, I could have Xbox Live, every AAA Microsoft release, including every game we saw at this event, and then it's got to be over 100 now of other games that get added almost, it seems, weekly now, including, like you just said, Metro. You played Metro Exodus, a game a lot of people are excited for. on Game Pass. You waited 3 or 4 months.
They-
It's almost scary to buy games now because they could be on Game Pass in a
They
couple
put
of
Red
months.
Dead Redemption 2 on it.
Yeah. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is on there, right? You could have Xbox Live access to all of those AAA titles, the new Halo, Gears, all of that, a ton of other games too, other than Microsoft.
You will spend
For
months
1 year,
alone on that one
For
game.
for 1 year, you get all of that, or 3 PlayStation games. So it's a huge thing to look at it like that. You're getting a year's worth of time, $180 for all of that, or $180 for 3 games. $180 for Xbox Live, and I'm gonna say hundreds. I could be in the hundreds of games, including all the new ones coming out, and you can play them on all your devices that are capable. Like if your phone and you have good connection, your computer, however it's convenient for you, you have the ability to play them. Also built into that $15 a month, or 3 $60 games you can only play on your PS5. You decide.
You decide.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to look at, dude. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck with Game Pass without even having the new Xbox. So Quaid, your thoughts? New Xbox, is it for you, or are you gonna just live through Game Pass?
Well,
Your PC is now an Xbox.
I always said, you know, I was never going to pre-order the next Xbox, and I think I'm going to stick true to that. It's a really tough call, because the fact that I have a PC, you know, that could pretty much do 4K, you know, at pretty good settings already, it's like, well, if I just get Game Pass on PC, then what's the point of, you know, an Xbox? I mean, if the lock card is real, and it's a discounted price, and I can get maybe some discount with my Xbox One X, you know, maybe I'll get the lock card. Maybe I will get the Series X, depending on the price. You know, of course, we don't know the price yet. You know, we have not a clue. You know, I think it's gonna be pretty big, because actually I think next month in August, I think they're gonna be revealing the price. So, you know,
They haven't said that, but yeah, it's gotta be.
yeah,
It has to be.
it's coming so close now at this point. You know, they just gotta reveal it, and we'll see.
We have to see it.
Yeah.
Please,
So
Microsoft.
That's my
I
thoughts
know
on
none of
it.
you are watching.
I'm conflicted.
Yeah, I know Phil Spencer is in the audience right now.
Yeah.
So thank you, Phil.
Phil.
So Quaid, you are conflicted. John, your thoughts on the new Xbox? Is it for you?
Okay, so I don't have a PC like Quaid and Matt do. I'm still playing on the original Xbox One, believe it or not.
Oh man.
It's not the best, so I have stashed some money away. I was very much on the fence. Well, originally I was all for the new Xbox, and I'm not gonna lie, then I saw some of those Sony games. I'm a huge sucker for Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank.
Whoop whoop.
So right now I'm a little on the fence about. Eventually I will end up with both for sure, and you know, it's like I've said to Matt. I think a couple years down the road, games-wise, it's gonna be much more even than it is right now. But it's like all of us have said. It's the Game Pass and the UI itself. I know this is an opinion, but I think Xbox Live is a much better service than PSN. So I'm still on the fence about which one I'm gonna be getting. I guess at this point, it's like Quaid said with the price, that'll play a huge factor. Because if Microsoft comes out and undercuts PlayStation because they don't care about making money on the hardware, if they come out and make it $50 to $100 cheaper, you know, bundled with Game Pass, I feel like, to me, even though Sony's got the stronger launch line, of a which hard.
Oh yeah, distribution down. I think it's I do want to get a Series X because I also have a PC, but I love the console's simplicity. You know what I mean? Just being able to turn it on,
Mhm.
Like it's small, it's easy, kick back, you know, play it, turn game on, it works. Uh, so I think eventually I do want to get a Series X, but not at launch. Partly because I don't trust console launches anymore, because I'm pretty sure they both had like a little bit of fuck ups when they both launched last time. So I don't think the Series X showcase basically reaffirmed that yeah, I like to play on console, but not that I want to buy a new one at launch. The only thing that I took away from it though is that I'm like, I need to see. I wish that 343 showed better how Infinite runs on the One versus the Series X. That maybe would have been a more deciding factor, but nothing out there screamed the Xbox One X can't run this, right?
Yeah, actually, don't even get me started on that because we're already probably an hour
Yeah.
and change into this.
Just like a
Yeah.
quick, like,
Don't even
yeah,
get
like
me.
a
We
yes or
do
no.
That'll
need
be
to
the next
discuss
one.
that.
Yeah.
We need to discuss the. I don't want to. We're not getting into this now. I'm just saying, to people watching, I'm saying this now. There will be a podcast at some point, talking about the life of the Xbox One and what's left for it. Because
Yeah.
there's a very big, question mark on if the Xbox One X is going to survive, or if the strongest console in the world is now being thrown away after 3 years. So that will be for another
That's-
discussion.
I
You
was thinking
guys
Or a
will be hearing
video.
about that
Original
soon
Xbox
because,
One here.
or a
Another
video.
10 years.
But that has to be discussed at some point,
Yeah.
and we, especially I, are very passionate about that, and
Mhm.
you will have to see that in the future. So stay tuned for something like that.
Nobody's really talked about that either, too.
I just
No,
wanted,
There's not
but
much about
somebody
it.
needs to.
yeah. I just wanted to ask, like, you know, because I'm like, I want to play Infinite without, you know, restrictions. I want my first experience to be like really good. Because I like first impressions. You know, it's like you can never play a game for the first time again, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So-
Impressions are huge.
I just don't want to play it and then play through it again, being like, because I want to play it when it comes out, but I don't want to be like, oh man, I should have gotten this on the X or whatever. Like I played Last of Us Remastered before I never played the original one, and I was like, wow, this game looks super gorgeous, and I wonder what it would have been like if I played the one that was slightly less visually good. I don't know, but just I think the Series X is something that maybe in the following year, but not at launch for me.
Mhm.
You know what? My last little thing is an addendum. When, because they said this is coming later, when ray tracing is added to Infinite, that's when I'll get a Series X.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's a great
there's-
point. A little weird it's not coming at
Yeah.
launch, but
Yeah.
I think it's because ray tracing tech is like what? It's pretty new. Like they were just like Exodus and Battlefield 5 were the first ones to really, you know, come out saying that they're doing ray tracing
Mhm.
at launch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how hard it is. I'm not a graphics manager.
Yeah. There's
yeah, no, none of us are.
there's a lot of there's a lot more talking we could do about the showcase event. I
Yeah.
mean, we could go on and on and on, you know,
Well,
Mhm.
in
the
so many
showcase
different
event,
directions.
yeah.
Just, you know, it could bring us
Um,
to Xbox, and it could bring us to Halo, then it could bring us to here and there.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
then we could
it's-
talk. Yeah, we could talk about like. We could talk about ID at Xbox, whatever. We'll
Yeah,
cover
that-
that.
Yeah,
Eventually-
there's going to be there's going to be more to be. There is much more to be talked about, and you can expect us to be talking about it because that is what we do.
Yeah.
So I'll leave
Unfortunately,
that at that for all of us.
929's got to eat dinner, guys. So let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it
Yeah.
up.
All right. Well,
So-
does anyone else have any final remarks?
I just want to say.
What's the price? That's my final.
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
What's the
What's
price?
the price? 99. Can you let us know what you're having for dinner? I also would like to know price, release date, and what is going. My biggest question that applies to me the most is what is going on with the mid-gen consoles, and we're gonna have to do another discussion soon because this podcast only opened up so many more things that
Yeah.
we can talk about.
Yeah.
So that is
and
all
the
I
fact
have
that
to say.
most like E3
So-
presentations said that like later this year we'll have a follow-up
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Microsoft and Ubisoft both said that.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm leaving it at, is my Xbox One X useless? How much am I paying to get a refrigerator on my desk? And will I have to buy one because of Game Pass? And that is it for me. I'm no longer going to say
Okay.
anything. This was a great conversation, and I'm going to let you guys wrap it up. So thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
I think next time we'll discuss all of the other minor showcases like ID,
Yeah.
Ubisoft, Devolver, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
John, anything?
Ooh, Devolver. All right, I guess I'll just have to buy it since none of you guys are, so
Oh.
that we can get the unboxing done on the channel.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can buy
right.
a mini fridge and scale it down.
No, I
in
mean,
post.
seriously, if I'm
Yeah,
able to pre-order one, I'll probably end up getting it, but we'll see.
Okay.
Good conversation,
yeah.
guys.
At this rate, you'll be able to pre-order it like a week before it comes out.
Yeah. Really.
Next event, the Xbox next event's gonna be like, and we're selling them right here, and he just
Yeah.
opens like a van.
Like
It
Girl
should be a
Scout
little bit
cookies.
stronger than my Xbox
Girl
One.
Scout cookies at Stop
Probably
and
draws
Shop.
much same amount of power for sure. Well, if that's all, guys, is that all? Is that everything we got?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's it for this episode of the Open Ear Podcast. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. We hope to see you in the next one, as always. And thanks for listening.